All right, guys. Well, I'm just looking around. It looks like I am going to go ahead and live stream this Hangout. If you are in, I'm going to hit record to computer. If there it is. Here's the thing. If you are in the Apex community, if you are in the mentorship, then you can go into Bolster and you can get the Zoom password and you can get into the Zoom meeting that I'm doing right now. Okay. If not, then we're just live streaming on YouTube and I'm going to end up sharing my screen. I'm going to go through the live stream. The live stream hangout, I said, how's everybody doing? Let's see if I can share this. I don't typically live stream from. Yeah, I'll just share the whole. I'm going to share the whole tab. I guess I don't usually live stream from Zoom. So if anybody comes into this, I'll let you in. If not, because I just kind of did this last minute today, I'll be really big booked up next week. So I said I'm not going to do that next week. But let's go through this live stream. I said, what do you guys want to talk about? And I had 13 comments. Let's get into those comments. Um, I had a cool background. James said the background looked cool, which is AI. That's actually AI right there. Um, but that AI backdrop looks kind of cool. It's like an old guy running up there. Let's see. I'm gonna make sure this is looking good. I'm just kind of testing out what this looks like. Yeah, all right. That it looks fine. So I did change the background. That's an AI image right there. That's fine. So Gordon just want to ask Eric, okay, after you pay for the course, what happens? This question confuses me. I mean, you should be going through the courses. That's what should happen. So I'm going to talk to Gordon personally. When is the live stream hangout? Joe Joe asked me that. Joe, it's right now. It's happening right now because I am so extremely tied up and busy right now. Let's see. There were comments. Oh, previous comments. I had some good comments up top here. These are just us chatting. All right, good making connection with people. Um, it led to more appointments lately. Also getting some from schools around here. Yeah, it's up and down. That's true. Up and down. That is true in the beginning. As a piano tuner, for sure, it's up and down. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's just up and then it's down, up and down. It kind of always happens like that. Um, and I'm going to talk to you guys about that Facebook marketing. So the first topic we're talking about today is this up and down sort of thing, especially when you're very starting out, which most of you guys are. You want to really be connecting to your clients almost constantly. Even if you only have 20 clients, you want to make sure that you call them personally on a 6-month window. Okay, so you can use Gazelle, and you can set up your calling them personally every 6 months, even texting them, setting them up like that. So when times are low, then you should just think of everything you can do. As a business owner, if times are low, you want to think about every single thing that you could possibly do. Like, what could you go to a couple music stores, stop in? I'll just brainstorm a few. Could you, get on Facebook, make a few Facebook posts? That always helps. Making a few Facebook posts. You could go into there's some Facebook marketing stuff that TJ was doing earlier, and what he was doing was yeah, okay, so I'm gonna have to let somebody in here. Oh, Joe's coming in. What TJ was doing Facebook marketing, and he was just going to, like, signing up for different Facebook groups, like, who knows, I forget where it was, moms of, whatever the city is, or group whatever city. And then he was just saying, hey, I'm going to be in town, and he was going to these little rural places and putting his little Facebook thing. He never paid any money. It was all free. But I'm going to be talking, and I guess I'll talk about it in this hangout. Hey, Joe, what's up, man? He's like sitting there like, Joe showed up to the hangout because Joe's just hanging out. And are you in your studio? Just hanging out in your studio? Is that what you're doing?
There we go. Yes, I'm just hanging out. I'm making some YouTube shorts.
Oh man, you got your hair buzzed.
Yeah, well, I didn't really do anything today, but yeah, I got it
You like
cut.
shaved the side. I'm gonna shave my head like that. I got
Yeah.
my hair cut. Look at my hair. It's all messed up.
Well, yeah,
I
you
got my
got all
hair cut,
slicked
but
up.
I gotta wear a hat. It
Yeah.
was it was getting long and shaggy, but then I got it cut. But I didn't do my hair today either. But yeah, that's shorter than I've seen it in a while. Looks cool. Um, we're talking about Facebook. What I'm doing right now, I'm not going to share all of the details of this on this live stream because I live stream this on YouTube, but I'll share a little bit more inside Bolster. We're going to do this week, actually today, after I get done with this, I'm going to be doing a YouTube, Facebook video ad. So a lead ad with Facebook uh, video. Okay. And
Okay.
so I'm going to give it like a 7-day, $100 test, and then I'm going to let everybody know. But I think from what I'm doing, I'm testing it in other businesses, and I've got some other friends that are doing these, and we're getting a lot of leads, and then we're using text messages to follow up. So it's kind of a new marketing system that I'm testing. Once I do it for about a week, I'll be able to tell everybody here if it works, because Google is kind of up and down for me. Google Ads works really good for us for like years and years, a decade. But you got to kind of spend a lot of money, and you got to keep yourself in the map. And I got banned from my listing got taken off 6 months ago because of technicality stuff, just technical stuff like robot AI stuff. And then I got it reinstated, but I just don't show up on the map like I used to. And so
Yeah.
I'm gonna take TJ's little Facebook thing, and I'm gonna double down on it. I'm gonna spend $100 for 7 days. I'm gonna try to use text messaging, automated text message feedback to the client, see if I can get bookings. I think that out of $100, I could probably get 10 bookings, but we'll see. So if that
Yeah.
happens, you guys will know. That was the first question that he asked. Would like to hear more about Facebook marketing. So TJ's free technique, you literally go in and you just start posting in groups, and you can get thrown out of groups. But TJ, what he did was he got people messaged him, and then he booked the appointment. Then he told that person, hey, do you want to, if you help me get a couple more in your town, I'll give you like $20 off, or I'll give you 20% off. So he was making deals with people through Messenger, and then they were like, oh yeah, my friend Susie and their church needs a tuning, so he would do that. So that's the marketing. I will give you guys an update probably in about a week to 10 days about my campaign. I'm starting my campaign today, probably before I take off. I'm traveling for a little bit. So tension and tuning. This is Kyle's second one. Tension and tuning. When to pitch raise and when to float. That's a controversial subject. Me and Joe could hash that out.
Yeah.
I typically, I know, I noticed a thing. Joe, okay, let's ask you. I mean, everybody knows what I do. When do you float a piano, Joe?
Um, Typically I'll float a piano if I have some certainty that it's not going to hold if I bring it up. So, I mean, you have to start tuning it to even determine that. But even if like the other day I tuned a square piano.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was like 120 years old and it was like
Yeah.
120 cents flat. And I was like, there's no way that this thing is going to get up to pitch. The standard pitch back then was like a 435, you know? So there's no way. So, I mean, right there, I was able to determine, all right, I'm not going to get this thing up to pitch. So yeah, I just floated it at like 120 cents flat.
Yeah,
So
those pianos weren't designed really in modern time, and you probably made that was a really good choice right there.
yeah, and even then, strings still broke.
Oh, did
I,
they?
I was getting up to the top and snap, snap. I was like, really? But that, I mean, if you're floating it at 120 and strings are starting to break, then I mean, you got to rewire the piano and it needs a major overhaul anyway. But I mean, if you're tuning like maybe like an older Yamaha or something like that you don't think is going to really hold pitch or just something older, maybe it's close to pitch and it's like you don't think it'll really benefit, then you could probably make that determination of just, all right, I'm just going to float it 10 flat or float it 7 flat or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I float even in studios. I'll float 2, 3, 4 cents if I have to. It's those micro floats that are. I guess if you're at a piano that's like -20, -30, you have to make a decision because you have to do 2 passes on that, and you have to move. If you're going to get it up to pitch, it's going to take anything around more than like 10 cents off, 8 cents off. You're going to have to pitch raise it or at least tune it 2 times or whatever. So sometimes if I'm in a recording studio and they have a session that day and the piano's 3 cents flat, then it's getting floated to 3 cents flat, even in like a high end session, because people just can't, you just can't tell. It just depends. All right. But if I'm in a home and it's 5 cents flat, I'm going to float at 5 cents flat. Unless somebody's like, hey, um, I guess it's controversial. It all depends on what you want to do. And I just don't like when people say like, oh, I would never float a piano, because it is kind of an industry. Maybe it's a secret. Maybe it's something that people don't like to admit they're doing. But I've never had even a studio even notice that I've floated at 2 or 3 cents. Now, in a studio environment, once it gets past that, I'm going to have to bring it up, and probably I'm not going to have to do a pitch raise 4 cents. I can just kind of move it up as I go, and then
Yeah.
just even it out. Like Joe, you and I talked on, I don't know, we talked on the Zoom, or you said something about, my fast 45-minute hour long tuning is kind of like what you're doing in the field, but that's not really the goal, is to just tune the piano as fast as you can. And you said if you tune the piano like twice, go through it once, go through it again, it's going to be a lot better, and you're noticing more stability, more, better tuning. So in a studio,
Oh,
I
yeah.
might do that. I might do a real fast tuning, and then I might go back and just start all over again and just take it slower. I might tune it in 30 minutes, then I might come back and do another 30, 45 minute, so I'm tuning it more.
Right. Yeah, there is a fine line, definitely, because I mean, you could spend an indefinite amount of time trying to tune a piano, but are you really going to be making money off of that? So it's that fine balance of like, all right, I have to be able to tune this and as well as I can, but I also need to be making money. And especially if your goal is to be making like 75, $100 an hour, then you really need to draw that line. All right, well, I can't spend 3, 4 hours on this piano because I'm just fighting it. There has to be a fine line of like what it needs and how you benefit and how the client benefits.
And really, my general rule lately, I'll give you an introduction in a minute, TJ. My general rule on when to float, typically, especially on an old piano, like if I go into a client's home, it hasn't been tuned in 15 years, it's 37 cents flat. Typically, I have to make a decision. Can I do this or can I not? And a lot of times I'll just say, let's tune it where it is, just see how the pins feel. I just want to feel it, because if I go, yeah, we're going to pitch raise it, and I start and strings start popping off, and then it doesn't hold tune, or it's got all these loose pins. If that happens, then it's a pain. So sometimes by default, I just don't raise it. I say, let's just do this first tuning and see what happens. And so that's kind of where I default to, especially if I'm not sure. If you're not sure, don't raise it, because you can always tell them, hey, this first tuning is just going to get it back to where it needs to be. It's going to be a little bit flat, and then we'll talk about a pitch raise. The other thing you can do is you can tell the client, like, hey, it's 40 cents flat, and I want to raise it to pitch, but it's going to require, and this is kind of important, it's going to require, tuning and a pitch raise. And you're going to say, instead of say X dollars, it's going to be XX dollars. It's going to be like double the price. And then I'm going to want you to tune the piano probably again in like another 2 months, 2 or 3 months tops. And are you willing to do that? And if they're like, no, it's just our son, we're not even playing that, we just play it once at Christmas, then you can tune it at 40 cents, and it's fine. But if they go, oh yeah, we want to do that, I kind of let the client decide on my end, because I do so much volume and I've been in the field for so long. I've realized, hey, I can just tell them, hey, if you want this pitch raise, it's fine. It's going to be 2 times the cost, so it might add $100, whatever your pitch raising price is. But it's gonna increase the price a lot, so almost by double. And then you're gonna ask them, can you have me back in 3 months, because it won't be as stable. If you don't say that and you don't do it, and you just go pitch raise the piano and only charge them $50 and leave, and in a month they go, this thing sounds like junk, you might lose that client. They might say, well, he tuned it, but it didn't sound good. So
Yeah.
to protect my reputation and to let them commit to the money, I tell them it's gonna be double the cost, and I'm gonna want to tune it maybe in 3 months, maybe again in 6, and then after that, we'll probably know that if the piano's stable, we can go to like a yearly tuning or a 6-month tuning. So that's probably the best answer I have, is just put it on them, because a lot of times they'll say, no, we don't want to spend, because they'll add that up and go, well, your tuning's 150, but if you pitch raise it, it's going to be 250, and then you want to come back again twice, and they add that up to $500 real quick. One more
Yeah.
thing, and you guys, and then we'll, one more thing. I went to a person's house. Their piano was like 80 cents flat, and the previous tuner was raising it 10 cents at a time. and he had already charged them like $600, and their piano was still like 50 cents flat. And they were
Yes.
like, they called me and they said, we don't want to keep paying, you know. So I do not raise the piano 10 cents at a time, a little bit. That is an old school thought. I raise if it's 100 cents flat, yank the whole thing up right away. So
Mhm.
don't do that. And I tuned it, I raised it and tuned it, and I was gone, and they were fine. It was happy. But I did notice that in my city, like, yeah, the guys, they had already spent like $600, and the piano was still 50 cents flat. So
Yeah.
don't do that.
There's one tuner in our little region that does that. And all the other technicians kind of, frown upon that guy because they know like it's
Right.
criminal to do that. You're not doing the client any good. And it's just like, why would you do that? Like you could just yank it up, like you said.
I think old school methods, they used to think the plate would break and all this stuff, but that's not true. We know the piano was built to be at a certain tension. So, TJ, what's up, man? Are you in there? TJ came. What are you doing, TJ?
I'm here.
How's it going? Oh man, you got a fancy shirt on.
Oh, look at you. Look at him.
Man,
Representing.
that's fancy,
Just
dude.
just don't look, what pants I'm wearing. So
Okay.
Can't
That's a
even
fancy
see your
shirt, the
pants.
oak and ivory. Is that where you
yeah.
at? Are you at a tuning?
No, this is in my bedroom.
Oh, is that a Yamaha?
No, it's Kohler and Campbell.
Oh, okay. Fake Yamaha. But you got a
Yeah,
grand out.
fake Yamaha.
You got a grand. You got pianos all over your house or something? You get
I
the.
have two. I have a grand in my living room and upright in my bedroom.
I've got a grand up my garage. It's just getting worse and worse out there. Um, all right, let's go on tension tuning. When to tell a customer you can't work on their piano. The cost for them won't equate the outcome. These are all Kyle's questions. I never tell them I can't work on their piano. Like maybe twice in like 10 years, I say that. I did have a friend, I won't say his name, but he would just leave. He would just get up and just leave. And they would call me and say, yeah, this guy did this. He was like, no, it's a piece of crap. Get a new piano. And he would just walk out, and he was older. He's no longer with us, but uh, I follow up a lot of texts that say this. It can't be tuned, and I go in there and I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about, and I tune the piano and I make money. So the only time I've ever done that is when there's a bunch of mold in it, or like it stinks really bad, or there's like a mice has eaten everything out of the piano, and I'm like, I just don't want to touch it because it's nasty. I will tell them like, hey, like this is just, you're gonna need thousands of dollars worth of work, and then if they want to pay that, that's fine. But when the cost won't equate to the outcome, that's not for you to decide. Be careful with that, because sometimes you think, well, this would need thousands of dollars worth of work. And then the client goes, well, it's my grandmother's. So yeah, I mean, whatever it costs, you don't want to just look at it and assume that, say, you wouldn't spend that much money on the piano, because maybe it makes no financial sense to spend 2 grand on a Lester Spinet, but that might have been their great grandmother's wedding gift from like 100 years ago, and they don't care. Maybe they have a bunch of money in their bank and they just want it. So I've met a lot of clients like that. They have a lot of money and they have an old piano that isn't worth more than $500, and they're willing to spend 2 or 3 grand on the piano. So I'm always honest with them, and I tell them, as a musician, you could just buy another piano, and that's what I would do. And they go, oh yeah, you're right, I probably could, but this is my grandfather bought this for my grandmother, for their wedding gift. And so then you're in a different, the cost doesn't matter at that point. So don't walk away from a lot of work just because you don't think it's worth it. Or if you just feel like I'm not, I always ask the person, are you trying to do this as a musician, or you just want this as a furniture piece? Because that piano, the Lester Spinet, is never going to sound that great. And as a musician, I would never want one. But if they want it and they want to spend the money, I tell them that I'll do the work probably. What do you guys have any thoughts on that?
No, yeah, I those are some good points actually, because I've actually I think I've actually lost work because I assumed what they were thinking, or assumed like what their mindset would be on it. And later to come find out, you know, they kind of spilled the beans of like, oh, this was my grandma's piano and it was so important to her, and everyone in the family loves this piano. And I would, just got done telling him that it's a piece of junk essentially.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, oh man, I totally could have just, been real with them and totally just tried to upsell the potential rebuild, you know? So,
Yeah, I always, if I'm going to hand somebody a $3,000 estimate on a Lester Spinet, I'm always going to tell them, I would not personally do this, and you can get a much better piano for less than what you would spend on this. But that's in the sense, that's a softness of like, but this is your grandmother's piano, and it could definitely work for you to do this if you want. But I always give the disclaimer that you can get a used upright on from the 70s on the internet for like $500 that would be great. And if they go, oh yeah, that would be, yeah, but you can just kind of tell. Just be careful when you're talking to them. Just
mhm.
feel them out a little bit. Like, hey, where'd you get this piano? Well, I got it on Craigslist yesterday. Okay, well then this thing's a piece of junk. You need to get rid of it. I don't even want to work on it. Why don't we, you can help them get a different piano if you want to. But I don't know. I meet a lot of people that have the weirdest, crappiest pianos, and then they're just like, they love them so much. And I'm like, well, here's what I would do to it. And I try to give them obviously realistic, because you could, Joe, maybe you've done this, and maybe I know TJ, you've done it some. You rebuild a little bit of a piano, and then you get to the end, and you've already spent thousands of dollars and weeks working on it. Then you play it, and you're like, it's okay. You know what I mean? You guys ever have that?
Yeah, there's a couple pianos where I've done quite a bit of work to them, and it's just like, this thing is not really that great. Like I worked on this Kimball console, did the key bushings, leveled the keys, did a little bit of regulation on it, and at the end of it, it just still played and sounded like not that great.
Like a Kimball upright?
Yeah, it sounded like a Kimball upright. And I felt the client actually noticed a little bit of a difference, but I was just like, oh man, I think I propped up oh, this is going to be so great. And um, the expectation probably wasn't as high as it actually really was.
Yeah, and the problem we have, I mean, we play hundreds of pianos a week, or not a week, but like within a year, we've played hundreds of pianos. We go to a nice recording studio or a nice house with a nice piano. The next one, we're like in the back room of some warehouse and, some coffee shop. So we can judge very small gradients of how good this piano is. They just think, oh, it's a piano. That's what it said. So we're very, and especially when we rebuild or doing something, we're hoping for this great change. And then if it doesn't happen, you're like, well, I guess it didn't happen. Like I've put strings on pianos before thinking it was going to really change it. And then I listen to it. I'm like, it just sounds like to me still. Then the client typically will be happy. But I think that has to do with in the early days, I thought that every piano I could make it better. Like I know you can make every piano a little better, but I used to think that I could take this old like Baldwin Spinet and make it sound like, a Yamaha Grand. I thought that's what I was trying to do in my head. And then at some point, years down the road, I was like, you know what? It is going to be a Baldwin Spinet no matter what. You know what I mean? It's not going to have, or it has a little buzzing, and that's not going to change. So as you grow as a technician, you're going to start to notice that you have personal limitations, maybe in your skill set, that might stop you from getting to that next level. But the piano has its own set of limitations that no matter how skilled you are, it's like, well, that's unless we rebuilt this entire thing, put a new soundboard in it. I mean, or whatever, just start over. It's not gonna change. So that's like maturing, knowing when you can be like, that's as good as it's gonna get. Like unless I don't even know unless, because I'm not a rebuilder, but I suppose there are rebuilders that rebuild full pianos, soundboards, everything, and then they listen to them and go, hopefully they're gonna go, yeah, it's a lot better. But sometimes you just have to realize it's not your fault that the Lester Spinet sounds like crap. It's not going to be. There isn't a piano tuner that can come in and just make it sound better. It's you do your best, and the piano gives its best, and then maybe that's not amazing.
Yeah. Uh, I think maybe to Kyle's question about what to tell the customer, I think uh, I was thinking about when I tuned that Square Grand the other day. Um, when I was really kind of initially just kind of looking it over, I could just tell it was like, you can't do this. Like this thing is too far gone. but the client really wanted it to just play better than it did. So it was, super out of tune. It just sounded not that great. And I was like, well, I could tune it to 120 cents flat and, I can make it sound a little bit better, clean up the unisons you know, and just not charge them that much because it's not really a good full tuning. It's not really going to last. It's, just kind of giving them the disclaimer as well. And at the end of it, she realized, like, yeah, this is the limitations of this piano. This is what it really needs. But I'm so much more happier now that you actually did this for me because she was, she has her grandkids come over and they play piano and she's like, I just want them to be able to play something and it sounds, better.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
really it's about gauging what the customer needs, what the client wants. Um, I mean, because unless you get your hammer on it, then you can't really make a decision. There has to be a point of, work of, being able to decipher what it needs, what the piano's telling you.
Yeah, I think that you just said that once you get your hammer on it, and that's why I never walk into a house. I mean, I made the appointment, I go over there. I'm not just going to look at it and play it. Oh, it's out of tune. It's untunable. I saw a guy on YouTube do that the other day, and he saw some cracks under the pin block, and he said, "Yep, sorry, this is untunable," and left. I'm like, yeah, but if you can see visible cracks underneath the soundboard, maybe that's under the sound, like on the pin block. Maybe it will or won't
Yeah.
hold tune. I always say, look, I'm going to try it. It's going to be $150 or whatever my price. If it still won't hold in tune, are you okay with that? The only other option you have is literally tell them this won't tune and leave. And what they do at that point, they will call somebody else. I want another opinion. And then what if that other second opinion is me? I'm going to go in and say, well, let's give it a try. Tune it.
Mhm.
Hey, it tuned up good. It did seem to have a few loose pins, but I could tap them or glue them in, and then I charge her $250, and she's happy. And she goes, well, that other guy said it couldn't be tuned. So I'm careful to ever just be like, this can't be tuned unless I try it. I'm always like, well, let's give it a try. I'm going to charge you. If I get through this and I can't get it to tune, I'm still going to charge you. You can do whatever you want. You can say, I'm going to charge you $100 if I can't get it to tune, just for my appointment. A lot of guys will do this. Even if they come in and say this can't be tuned, they'll still charge a service fee, like a $80 service fee. Like if they walk in and the piano's got like mouse crap all over it and it's just rusted all to heck, and they know, well, I'm not tuning this, they'll still charge $80 just to see it. So I'd be real careful of just walking out without getting paid at all, and then super more careful about saying, oh, this can't be tuned, just because you look at something or it looks a little strange. And if they say, well, it can't be tuned, it can't be tuned. I did have I've experienced this a lot, and I always say, hey, I always disclaim almost everything, because you never want to just go in and just start working, then come back and have to admit, hey, by the way, I broke 10 strings and the piano can't be tuned. And they're like, what are you talking about? So I'll tell them, before I touch this, I want you to know it could break strings. I could get to where I can't tune it. I would still charge you only $100 instead of 200. But, and are you okay with that? And then they say, okay, so you're not stressing out, about your reputation or making them mad, you know?
Yeah. No, that's actually yeah, that's a good point because I've actually ran into those super old uprights with the open face pin blocks.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, you can see them. I ran into one like a month ago and it had visible deep cracks where the pins are in, like where they're
Okay. Yeah.
pounded in. And I looked at it and I was like, I don't think I can tune that, but I'll try. And sure enough, they actually were tight and they held.
Yeah.
Now, they're
That's,
probably not going to hold very long, but I think it's always beneficial to, yeah, put your hammer on it and to see what it does. And just to
yeah,
kind
you're
of
right.
look
Cause
at it.
it could look really bad and you could tune it. Like you just said, that's a perfect example of what I'm saying. If you just look at a piano and leave, that's why I've tuned a lot of pianos where people just say, everybody said it can't be tuned, and I tune it, and I'm like, well, I don't know what they were talking about. It's confusing to me. But I think watching some people on YouTube, I realize they're not even trying. They're just going, nah, this can't be tuned. I tuned a piano last a couple 6 months ago, and the guy was, let me see if I can. Oh, this is on how to tune. Let me see. There's a picture right here. It looked just like this. It was terrible. Now this is on it had rust caked all over. Every pin was like just so rusty. And I told the guy was like, well, I don't know. My wife wants this done. I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. So I took, it was rusted all the heck. It was like almost like a wet rust, like he had put it in storage. So all the pins were rusty and some of the strings. And I said, well, I'll give it a shot. I took a wire brush and just started wire brushing the whole thing down, and cleaned it up. And I'll tell you guys this. People will be like, "Why did he do that?" I think I sprayed some WD-40 on my wire brush, and then just really went at it. And then I think I took some like some bike chain oil, not bike chain oil, but like some gun oil, and cleaned it up, and then just put that on there. I know that people are going to have a spaz attack, so go ahead and spaz attack. But I tuned that piano; it was fine. You know what I mean? People, you're not supposed to spray anything on the pin block, but anyway, that's what I did, and all that rust came off, and I tuned the piano, and I didn't break a string. So you could look at that and literally think, "There's no way that thing's tuning." And I told the guy, it was like worse than this one.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I'll try it. And you could kind of tell that it was surface rust because it wasn't a super old piano, but it was really moist, wet rust. And so I just sprayed some WD-40 on my big metal, like brass brush, just scrape. It's either that or throw it in the garbage. That's the thing. Sometimes it's like, well, I can try this, or we can throw the piano in the garbage. That's your choices. And people will be like, well, try it. And I was really honest with the guy. It might not work, so and I still made like $500 on that. So that's how you make the money. And the guy was super happy. He was like, okay, good. Let's see, what's the next one? So don't spray WD-40 on pen blocks. There's this guy that wrote a whole article about WD-40 on pen blocks, and he was really raging against pianos and WD-40. And the whole time it was because people supposedly were spraying the pen blocks down with WD-40. Like, who would do that? Number one. And then the guy wrote a whole article about it, and I was like, well, that's not even what I was talking about for WD-40. And then the other day on the forums, piano tuning forums, somebody posted, I guess the WD-40 website had a piano on it. Did you guys see that?
No, I
There was,
didn't.
the WD-40 website had a piano, like a picture of somebody spraying the key bushings, or no, the punchings, the front rail punchings
Oh.
on a piano, just soaking them down. And they were all raging about that. And I'm like, that's a strange way to use WD-40, but I wish I could see it on the actual website. Anyway, enough about WD-40. Let's see. When do you tell, okay, how do you estimate the value of a piano? You guys know?
Well, it depends on what the piano is. So I did an appraisal the other day, and um the guy who's teaching me some rebuilding stuff, he's, done hundreds of thousands of appraisals. And essentially what you do is you just evaluate, you need to do some research on like what the market for that piano is. And then you do the estimate of like what it would cost to make it pretty much brand new. And then make a uh, you just kind of make up an estimate of like what it would cost just for someone to buy it. So if it's like a Wurlitzer like Spinet, then typically those run for like $300-400. But if it's like the one that I did a Baldwin Grand. It was a Baldwin Model R.
Okay.
Those are like running like new. Well, because they don't really make them new anymore, but a Baldwin R in a new condition is like 18,000, 20 to 18,000. And the condition it was in was about maybe 25% of what that was. So you take that math, you do that math, it comes around to like maybe $8,000. So that's pretty much what you tell them. It's like, oh, well, piano is 20% of what it could be, or 50% or whatever. And you
Yeah.
just do that math.
That's so interesting. way. That's how he does it. Because I know there's a couple guys that appraise pianos, and sometimes you want an insurance appraisal.
Hmm.
They're saying, what's the so anytime I've ever appraised a piano, which I try not to do it just because I don't like doing it, but I try not to do it, but if I do it, I say, like, if you're going to buy this new, like you said, here's your new value. Like, I found this piano that would be similar. It's going to be 26,000 or whatever. So your
Hmm.
piano is, 50 years old, maybe. Used piano prices are just all over the map. That's why I have a hard time assigning a value, and insurance doesn't even want you to make up a number like, oh, if you buy this used or whatever. So I think what you said just now was fairly good. Like, here's your new value. Yours is 20% depreciated, but how you're just making up a number, but it's depreciated. It's 20% of a new one.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and you have to really evaluate like what's the condition of the hammers, what's the condition of the action, and that takes work. You have to, pull the action out, maybe do a couple swing tests on some flanges, like really evaluate like the condition of all the felts and everything. Like, oh yeah, these are in pretty decent shape, and um, so that's kind of where it comes in. It is you need some experience, I think, with it. And my appraisal probably wasn't, the coup de grace or the best example of an appraisal, but that's essentially like what you need to
well,
do. You need to
yeah,
actually look at it. You need to tune it.
if the client needs the appraisal for insurance, then you definitely want to do new replacement value. And the insurance will probably, before they even claim it out, would probably go, well, here's they're just going to take the value and give them a certain percentage. So the other thing, if they want what I get most of the calls for are, I'm trying to sell my piano. How much is it worth? That's where I'm like, I typically anymore, I just say call the music store because they sell pianos. I don't sell pianos, but I'm looking at that piano. I might say $1,500 to 3,000. You go on eBay, you go on Facebook, you look real quick. Yeah, a Baldwin Hamilton from 1960. You can get that piano for $100 or $1,000. Just depends, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm kind of careful with why I'm doing it, but as long as they're happy, like if they need an insurance appraisal and you give them the document and you charge them $100 and you say, here's a new one, here's yours is about this way, that's good. But I'm careful with all the phone calls of I need to know how much my piano's worth. It's like, well, is it 100 or is it 2,000? How much can it sell for? It's only worth, in that sense, it's only worth what you're going to be able to get it sold for. So I'll tell them, let's tune it. I'll clean it. Even just do that, and then you could probably sell it for $1,000 or something, or 5,000. It gets harder if it's a Steinway. A lot of times people, oh, I got a Steinway or I got a Yamaha. You still are going to have to look at what the market will bring. And if you go on eBay and you look at what those pianos are listed for on eBay, those are list prices. They're not sell prices. So people are listing their pianos on eBay for like $30,000, and really they don't sell. So then your client says, "Well, I've seen them on eBay for 30 grand." It's like, well, that's just their asking price. That doesn't mean it's sold. So I typically try not to do a lot of appraisals. There are some websites that will do them, but if somebody wants to pay me to give them sort of like that document, I need that document for insurance. Just make sure you put the serial number down. The new replacement value is really, I'm serving the client. I'm thinking if my piano got burned up in a fire and they were like, well, we need to give you the new replacement value. And I said, well, here it is. Here's what it was. It was that's really what you want to look out for. Don't underestimate the replacement value, because if their house catches on fire and you said, well, their Steinway was only worth, replacement value was only 15,000, that could maybe hurt them. So I
Oh, yeah.
just estimate high on that stuff. And then when they're talking about selling, I tell them, well, you're just gonna have to list it. Here's what I would list it for. But it's hard to get an appraisal value of to me. And I know there are some guys that are really, that's what their business is, but I mean,
Mhm.
that's why I tell them call the store, because they sell pianos every day, and those store guys will tell you exactly what they're going to sell it for. And that's really, to me, where the value is. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
For fair for to throw in here for fair market value, I use MSRP times depreciation plus or minus condition plus or minus market value. That's the formula that I use to give a fair market value.
That's
Does that
good.
make sense?
Yeah, explain it.
MSRP So manufacturer was that MSRP sale price? I can't remember
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
MSRP means.
MSRP is like what its list price is or whatever.
Yeah, times the depreciation. So if it's 20 years old, it might depreciate what 40% or whatever you factor that depreciation is. You'd have to research the depreciation factor on it. Plus or minus condition. If it's in perfect condition, it's going to raise the price. If it needs $3,000 worth of work, it's gonna lower the price for $3,000. Plus or minus like market value, like the pianos in Oklahoma are going to be differently priced than the pianos in Joe. Where you at? Idaho, Wyoming, Canada. You're somewhere up there.
Yeah. He's up in he's up in,
Idaho,
he's up in the,
Washington.
Yeah, wherever you are, the pianos are going to be differently priced.
Right.
But like I I did some work on a spinet, and it's grandma's piano, like we were talking about before. They were willing to put a lot of money into it. Is this worth the investment? Well, go to a known, I'm not going to say them here because I don't know, promotion wise, but a major piano retailer online for used pianos. Boom, boom, boom. To buy this exact model, it's going to cost you $1,200. So take that for what it is.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. You have a formula and you have a plan. That's
Yeah.
key. I mean, that's a good. Welcome, Tom.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. What you doing?
It's funny. We're getting ready right now. We're hosting a party in like any minute, but I'm like,
Oh, really?
I want to say hi to these guys. I'm hanging out. I'm up here in Connecticut.
Oh,
It's
Connecticut.
and I'm on the porch waiting for some friends to come, but we're having a good time. I had
Yeah.
I had a good week. I just call out of the blue. I'm still pretty new in my area. If you Google piano tuners in Connecticut, I'm low.
Okay.
But what's happened? These guys are just busy and can't make it out. And I've been getting more calls. I went out. I tuned like a really nice Kawhi this past week. And Eric, you and I were kind of chatting on the main feed, but it was a good feeling. It was the first time I removed the grand action, to be honest with you guys.
Oh, yeah. Cool. What
So,
did you do to it?
it went smooth. I was hoping, and I mean, you guys might have seen the post, but there was an issue where the sustain pedal was having an issue, and the rod basically during a move, this rod just got stuck, and all the dampers were just permanently raised. So just had to take the action out, reach back there, fix the rod. But it was just a very satisfying. It all worked. It wasn't like didn't have to say, you know what, guys, I'll come back out and I'll go figure it out, then I'll come back out. It was none of that. It was just very satisfying. The guy hadn't played this piano in years. He moved, had the piano moved. He finally had it set up, couldn't even play it. And then I was able to fix it, tune it. He was happy. So it was a good feeling.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time I pulled out a grand action, it was really hard. It was like I had to repair like a whipping or something. It was terrible. But that first time, you just got to do it, and don't break any hammers off.
The only thing I thought about, and I see why it happens. Like I was so cognizant about like, don't break it, and still like I was touching those keys as those hammers were coming out, and I'm like, I see how people break these all the time.
Yeah, it feels like that high C, that highest key, was it C up there?
Yeah.
You barely touch that sucker and it pops up, So you got to be real careful pulling it out. And also you got to look before you pull it out. Sometimes there's a couple hammers that are just sticking up anyway. And then, I mean, I've broken hammers off. I'm sure Joe and TJ have too. I know one of them has. I don't know. Joe, have you broken off hammers pulling out actions?
I have once.
And TJ,
luckily, it was on my own. It was on my own piano.
Oh, okay.
I've broken one. To me, it only takes one to break for you to figure that one out real quick. I've broken one.
I just hate it when you break it and the client's standing there talking. And you're like, yeah, pulling out the action. It's like click, click. You're like, they're like, what was that? And you're like, nothing. Can you get me a cup of coffee?
We're all good.
I'll tell you, I was nervous because it's one of those things too. I'm like, I've never lifted it, and I wasn't I'm like, this thing's freaking. I was expecting it not to be light, but I'm like, just go slow, go slow.
Yeah.
head
Well,
off.
when you lift it out, where'd you put it? Did you put it on the bench or
Right on the bench. Just had a plan. I'm gonna take it out, put it on the bench.
Yeah, turn around, put it on the bench. That's the best place to put them, especially. And if you got a really nice bench, you might want to cover it with a towel or something. But sometimes I don't know I don't know this is if this is in any of my videos, but sometimes I will pull out the action and just lift it up and sit it on the pin block, like right on a grand. Do you guys do that?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, so it's not totally it's weird. You can just sit it up there on the open grand. So yeah, I mean, I saw your post and I was like, I responded late, but I was going to tell you that's exactly what happens. Those little dowels in between the pedal and the action, they get lodged, they fall out. That's almost every mover. I don't know why they don't just test the pedals, or if they just test them and think, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess they're not getting paid to.
They did, and they're like, hire somebody. That's what they said. Like,
Yeah.
we don't know. We don't
Yeah.
move pianos. We move other stuff, and we just, we made it work.
They got it. They got it there. Yeah.
So thanks to them, because got a couple extra bucks. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
hey,
dude,
I
that's
just wanted
good.
to hop on. I got to get. I hear my kids. I hear people pulling in. But
All right.
it's great
All
to
right,
meet
Tom.
you guys.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for jumping on. We'll see you.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right, buddy.
Yep. See you, Tom.
I'm gonna keep going down here. Not so. Well, you guys got any comments? Let's see. Maybe some restoration techniques. What do you sub out versus do yourself? I'll let you guys talk about that because I know, Joe, you do a lot more of your own restoration.
Yeah. So in talking in the context of like this group, I would say anything pretty major with the action, you should sub out. Like if you're replacing hammers, or putting in like new whip-ins or anything like that, even key tops, I would sub that out the first go around, and maybe try and if you do sub it out, maybe try and tag along with the person you're subbing it to just get the idea of like what it takes. And then maybe after a couple times of you subbing out work like that, maybe try it on your own. But if you're doing key bushings, I would say there's tons of videos on key bushings on YouTube, and I'm actually putting together a key bushing class or tutorial, whatever. Maybe I could put it on Apex or something, but key bushings it's pretty standard work for key bushings that you should probably know by like your second year. Like you should be able to do key bushings. And
But do you want to? I guess it depends. I've never done key bushings. I did try key tops. I almost caught my garage on fire. I think I have a video dude. I caught my whole saw on fire. I mean, it went up in flames, and it was a problem, and the job was terrible too. I always sub key tops. I always sub key bushings, and if that's just me, but I know, Joe, you've done your own key bushings.
mhm.
And that's good. I think you should. And if you share that video and stuff, I find that there's two things here. Number one, it would be great if you could do your own key bushings because you can make more money, and you don't have to ship the keys out. There's a lot of reasons why you should do your own key bushings, and also another growing reason is there are hardly anybody doing key bushings, right? And key tops. I mean, it used to be that I could send them to Shaft and they just knock them right back to me. Now Shaft kind of quit doing all that stuff, and at least for now. So you got to go find somebody to do them. So I think that's why a lot of people do their own work. I typically don't do it, and it's just because I did try to do it. Like I said, I almost burned my house down doing key tops because when you're routing the key top material off, there was some old key top material that's made out of flammable plastic, And so I had my, I was using a jig, and I spent all this time doing this. So I had my circular saw as the jig to route the top of the key, get the key tops off. And it got so hot, it ignited, and it ignited all of the plastic that was on the saw and on the ground. And it just went just all down the floor, all up into the ceiling. I mean, it was a big fire. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
And then from reading, I started reading articles and stuff, and like, yeah, these old keys, they get hot, they used a flammable material. They don't do that anymore. And just the way I was doing it wasn't like it wasn't a way that people do it. It just, I think a router's better than a table saw, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, for key tops, I would sub them out all the time because I just think that it's a skill that you have to get really good at. And if you're young, like you guys are younger than me, if you're young and you're like, well, yeah, I could do key tops, I think you could get a lot of work doing key tops. In fact, like I said, it's hard to get them done anymore. And the guy I sent mine to last time, he's a good guy. His prices are good, but it took like 3 months, or like 2 months. It was like, so. But okay, let's talk to the first year, second year beginner. I would sub everything out unless you're brave like Joe and you're really dedicated. Because key bushings, again, Joe, you have to be good at them, right? You have to do them precisely, or you could just cause yourself more headache, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
there's lots of pitfalls if you don't know what you're doing.
So sub it out unless you took Joe's course and you were like, oh man, I'm really gonna get good at this, because you have to buy extra tools, you have to do all this stuff. So I don't have an opinion either way. I personally sub everything out that I've kind of learned, like, oh, I can put these in a box, boom, ship them out, be done, and I can still make money on them. But if I was younger, I had a real desire to do like key tops and bushing. I kind of wanted to. After I caught my garage on fire almost, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this again. It was so hard. Key tops look easy, but the thing is, you have to have all these jigs. They have to be all really good. I cut some keys crooked. I cut some tops on it. It was like, I got my job done and I looked at it and I was just mad. I was like, this isn't that good, So
The first time I ever had key top subbed, I'm not gonna say who I sent them to.
yeah.
They came back terrible.
Well, that can happen too.
I had to take them to another guy. And I'm not gonna say who it was in case they're listening.
Yeah, don't say who it was because I don't know. To me, I only ever use Shaft, and then they closed. Their guy quit.
I'm thankful. I have a company about 3 hours from me that they do really cheap key tops and bushings and anything that I need them to do, and I can have it done in a week. And so it's awesome.
So go back. I'm going to circle back to Joe's key. What's that called? Key bushings. Joe, do you think that is it worth learning key bushing? You think it's worth learning key bushings and they could do it?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that you can do like at the end of your workday. Like if you get a key job, you can sweat out the bushings and get them sized, get the mortises sized, have them sit overnight. And then the next day after your tuning day, you can just bust them out. So you have a couple of long days. So if you're tuning and everything, you have a full day of tuning and then you come home and then you work on them. You can get them done in like 2 hours, It's not that long of a time if you get really good at them, and you can make a pretty good sum of money. I charge $550 for key bushings. So if you 2 hours to do that, it's pretty good money to do that.
Yeah, it's real good. And I like your idea of doing them because I've had really inconsistent results from ordering from different places. And if you don't get them right, or if you don't do them great, then, or if I get them and they're not great, then it takes me forever to ease them in the piano. Mm-hmm. And so I do think that if I was going back 20 years from now ago, I probably would have, I agree with it. If you're young in the business, it's something that you can learn, and Joe's probably making videos anyway, so you could probably learn it. What other stuff? Because key tops, I'm probably always going to propose just to send key tops off, because it's really hard to route the key And I just feel like there's, unless you're really good at woodworking and have a lot of really good tools like routers and all this stuff, and it just doesn't make sense to me because key tops, you can usually get them for a couple $100 subbed out, and then you just literally put them on and they're done.
Mhm.
But that's my own thought. I mean, everybody's skill level is different, and everybody's like, well, I got a workshop and I got all these routers. Then maybe set up some jigs and do your own keys. I think I was telling one of you guys last month or a couple months ago, if you got really good at key tops, you'd probably make a ton of money because there are just very few people doing it right now.
Yeah.
Like
I
if you
think it
put
was
like
I think
key
it was
tops.
me, but you were talking about key bushings.
Oh yeah, bushings and keys. I think you could make a lot of money being the guy that does it for other techs. Because the guy that I'm talking to that's doing it, he's backed up. He's way backed up, and he's taken weeks and weeks or months to get them. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll put you on my list." But that shows me that there is some room for people to get that sub work. And once somebody knows, like for me, if I knew, Joe's really good at key tops or key bushings and get them back to me in a week, then I would always send them to you, and you would have work and all the time, and I would, you get 5 or 10 or 20 techs doing that, and you could make good money.
Yeah.
Um,
I do want to say, if you do decide to sub out any of your jobs, really spend some time on what it costs and what your cut should be and what their cut should be. Um, because they'll have typically, if you sub it out, they'll have a set price of what they'll do it for. But you also need to determine what your cut's going to be so that you're not losing money.
yeah,
Um,
good point.
I've had it to where, someone will try and send me a job or they'll send me a job and it's like neither of us are making money off of it or as enough as we should. Or
Right.
people have, canceled on me and they're like, "Hey, I reran the numbers and I'm actually losing money, so I'm canceling it." And it's like, I mean, that's fine, it's just you have to really count and really do your research and really run all the numbers and make sure that you're making money off of it so that you're not in the negative or just breaking even because you want to be able to make a profit off of the subbed jobs that you sub out. Because, I mean, without you, that person that you're subbing out to wouldn't have gotten the work. So you need to get a cut for that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, you have
that's
to,
important
and
to
the
know.
hardest part of that for me early on was key tops, because you don't realize how much it costs to ship key tops. They cost like 75, sometimes like 75, $80. Plus, if you've got a nice expensive piano, you have to buy insurance, or you should buy insurance. Because I think a new set of key tops, if UPS like took your key tops or keys and they got in a flood and they just like your keys floated down the river, I think it's like $5,000 to get a new set made, for a piano.
It's even
It
probably
more.
closer to 10, probably
Is it
closer to
is it
10.
because last time I was looking into it, it was like 5 or 6 was like the minimum. Like that's probably, so I should probably say it's 5 to 10 grand. If you're like, oh,
Well,
I've got a grand piano that needs a new set of key sticks, the whole, that could be
yeah.
bad if that's on you and you go to your client like, well, I lost your keys. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's something that I tell people and I've told people that like if they send me keys, like get insurance on it. And that's what happened last time with the last person that was going to send me some keys,
Oh,
the key
they didn't.
bushing. I told him I was like, make sure you get insurance of upwards to 7,000, and make sure you pack them really well, and this, that, and the other, and really make sure that you can swing it. And then they actually found out it was going to be like $250 to ship them. And they're like, we can't do it.
Right.
Because
Yeah. If you get over $5,000 in insurance from UPS usually, and they're heavy and they're big, it's like a couple $100. Or I usually stop at like, because I'm always there going, do I need five? You get about $5,000. What I found with UPS, if you get $3,000 worth of insurance, they will literally, like, the driver will like hold that package basically up front, and he'll put it. It's a separate. Just talk to UPS. What you notice is $1,000 is okay, 2,000. Once you hit like 3,000 more, then it's like a special package.
hmm.
So I would get 3 to 5,000 just to get it in that special package, because then they're going to literally have it in a separate truck, a separate room. They know like we don't want to pay 4 grand. So, but yeah, you're right. You probably need like 5 to 7,000. But I always took my chances on I just got 3,000. But so that way UPS says, oh yeah, if you put 3,000, we're going to guard this thing like it's going to a special truck, it's going to a special room, you know. So yeah, because I think if you get 5 to 7,000, you're adding a couple $100 plus shipping. Then they have to ship it back, et cetera, et cetera. So
Mhm.
that's why I charge $600, $700, $800 for a set of key tops, because I've got to make money and
Yep.
I've got to ship it. And the clients don't know or care. They're just like, how much is this going to be? And you just tell them, well, it's going to be 800 or whatever. That's probably minimum. When I sell a key top job, it's probably easily 600 just to get them, take them. And I might make a few $100. I pay the people a few $100, you know. You're not getting rich off doing key tops, you know what I mean? You might be, but
Yeah.
you do not want to lose money and be like, well, I just did this and I had to pay $200 in insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. And the point is like when we talk about your cut, their cut, it's like you're not going to overcharge essentially. You mark it up enough to where you make something, but you're not making as much as the guys who's doing the work and all that. So you have to really make sure that you just calculate it all out. Just takes a little bit of time.
It's actually, I don't like the key tops as much because you have to go pick them up, box them up, ship them, get them back, go back to the house, put them in. So I usually try to make at least 2 appointments, just the cost of 2 appointments. So I usually try to pull $200 or $300 profit off that job because I'm going to go to the house twice. You know, so if you think of 2 service fees, just okay, I'm picking them up, I'm going, you know, like I said, you do make a little bit of money. You don't make as much money like as when you're regulating or doing something. It's a better scenario if you don't have to ship anything.
Yeah.
But
I would even venture to say that if you're doing a key top job or even a bushing job, that you should sell the key leveling and key dip as just like a part of the package, because I mean,
yeah,
on the off chance you get some schmuck who doesn't know what they're doing and botches the keys, then you gotta really you
yeah.
have to
I
really
mean,
work to get them level.
you're right. I almost always sell inside a key job. I'll sell like that, the regulation, all that's coming. So I'm regulating. I'm also key leveling. Um, Especially when I sell bushings. Early on, I burned myself several times on bushings because I didn't realize how long it was going to take to ease them in, and it just depends on who does them or whatever. So I started charging more, realizing I'm going to have a couple hours of easing on this, possibly. You don't know. You could put them in there, they're just fine, but you could be there for like 2 hours just easing those keys. So yeah, definitely sell everything along with it. You know, it's got to be eased, it's got to be leveled. I might have to do minor regulation. I mean, definitely put you a few hours of profit plus shipping, plus insurance, plus the guy you're paying, you know, and just add it all up. Let's see. So I can't think of restoration. Okay, in restoration, I never do. I get a lot of calls for. I got a chip, I got a crack, I got a, somebody put a flower, somebody put a candle on my piano and it burned the finish. I don't do any of that stuff anyway. So I sub that out or tell them call. I do have a refinisher I work with, so I'll go take pictures, send it to them, and I just try to pass on as much as I can of that stuff because that's not my business. That's not the bread and butter of my business. And that's when I was first training, Jack would tell me tune, regulate, repair voice, period. You know, like, oh, but I want you to refinish the top of my piano lid. Okay, that's a nightmare for me. You know, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sub that out. I'm going to say, hey, call this guy. He's a refinisher. He'll come out. I might take pictures, send it to the guy, you know, but I'm not going to get involved in that because that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm making money doing. Does that make sense? Um, until you niche in, if you become a refinisher, well, that's a whole nother business to me. So there is a temptation to try to do everything. They say, oh, we got a piano crack and we got this, and I'll do legs, I'll fix stuff, but when it comes to refinishing, it's really hard for me. I try to get away from it. We'll call this company, or call my friend. The best thing I can say really, especially when you're starting out, just have friends that do stuff. Get to know a refinisher, get to know a guy who does key tops, get to guy, because then when they ask you, you don't feel like you have to do it. You can say, oh yeah, well, my friend Joe does this, or Joe, you have a rebuilder you work with. So, oh, you know, it's better to know people and be able to pass them along for multiple reasons. We talked about this in marketing. If you know a refinisher and you're always giving him business, then when somebody he's gonna do the same to you. Movers do that with me. Movers got me some really good work, but I always give them work too. You know, I try to stay in my lane because I wanted to do all this stuff when I was started, but I realized I got into some of the things and realized I'm just losing money and it's causing me stress. So, all right, let's go into James's proper hammer technique. I mean, I'm about ready to get off this live stream. Let's
Yeah,
see,
boys, I'm gonna have to hop off here. So
all right, TJ, thanks, man. We'll
Yeah,
answer this
TJ.
one more question and then we're getting off too. And then next, I'm going to be traveling next week. And then the next live thing, I did ask, this is a random, I just popped in and did this. We'll do it more like in midweek, evening time or something like that.
all right, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you later.
Peace out, TJ. Let's see. James asked, I'm having trouble. Well, there's two things: proper hammer technique to avoid shoulder injury, and he's having trouble with high treble. Having trouble with the high treble. Well, there's two stiff pins. It feels impossible to make small adjustments. What's an acceptable margin of error? And after a while, I realized my ear and gauge the note sounds good enough. I don't know. I think you just have to just practice more on the high treble and just practice. Watch me tune in the course. I tune high treble, and the problem I have is there's some pianos are really hard. So every piano is different. That's the thing. So you just have to kind of practice. So Joe, do you have anything to say about what's the margin of error? I get that question a lot. People are saying, well, if it's if they're looking at their tuner and they're like, well, it's off by 0.5 cents or it's off by what, do you have any advice on that?
Well, this is it comes with experience, so you have to realize your limitations. But for the high treble, I get as close as I can to stopping the lights if you're like using TuneLab or the Aki tuner. If you're using TuneLab, then it can kind of be a discouraging thing to look at TuneLab and it says 0.7 cents sharp or points, it's such a marginal, just small thing, The human ear can't really delineate 1 to 3 cents anyway. So if you're in the high treble and you're like 2 cents sharp and you're just really trying to, and that's the best you can get it, I think that's fine. But I would also say if you're trying to like tune unisons, just tune every string to individually to the tuner, and you'll get a pretty good result. If you're really struggling to figure that out. Because I found, because I did that, I was like, I can't really get these high notes to really sound good by ear. So I just did each string to the tuner, and I got a good comparable, like, all right, this sounds good. This is what it's supposed to sound like because all the lights are stopped on each string. So I know it's supposed to sound like. But you also have to realize too the ratio of like how long the string is compared to how much you turn the pin is significantly different than down in the mid range because you'll have to turn it a lot for it to even just move a little bit in the lower. But you find that in the high treble, like even just like a little bit, like sends it,
Yeah.
So it's just working on it. You just have to really just practice. It takes time.
Yeah, I like everything you said was perfect. That's a good, yeah. That's my friend that I work with here in Nashville. He would call me. He's like, I'm getting him in 0.5 cents. Is that good enough? I'm like, well, I mean, it's 0.5 cents. Nobody can hear 0.5 cents. So is it good enough? You're a musician. Can't you tell that sounds pretty good? So some of it is that. So I'm glad you said that. That margin of error, I don't look at, honestly, I don't, because TuneLab shows you 0.5, 0.6. It shows you it's a good readout. The AccuTuner doesn't show you that necessarily. It doesn't have a real-time readout where you're seeing the deviation. So it's a feel for me, but if I want to hit the octave and hear it, it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. So and what you said about tuning each note to the tuner, perfect. That's a perfect idea. That's what I do up in that. When I can't hear what I'm doing or I don't feel like I'm getting it, I just go strings, I tune each one of those to the tuner. And I'm like, yep, that's good enough. That's as good as it's going to get. And it goes back to everything you said was perfect. So I'm just repeating it now, basically. And proper technique to avoid shoulder injury. Watch my videos. Do not watch YouTube. I watch YouTube videos all the time, and the guy's going like this. He's sitting at the piano like this, tuning above his head. Like I can't even lift my shoulder up right now because I've injured myself punching people in Krav Maga. But like I've if you get your hand up there like that, that's what I see on YouTube, and they're like sitting there like this, tuning with their hand way up. Watch my videos, James, because I'm standing with like my feet really wide. I'm moving my whole body. I'm using a lot of my body, because if you don't, then you will have rotator cuff injuries. You cannot sustain this. I turn my body in different ways. So maybe I know that when I'm teaching in the course, I already show all this, but you'll see don't do whatever you see on YouTube. It's the worst example of posture. Don't do that. Watch my videos inside the course and learn to turn your body and move your whole body, not just, you're not tuning with your shoulder and your arm. That's what do you think? You got any last words, Joe?
No, yeah, I would say that if James has watched your videos on hammer technique and how to approach the piano, then he doesn't really have to worry so much about, injuring his shoulder. I would only say, in addition to that, is that if you really want to really try and avoid that, I've heard lots of great success stories with the Leviton C lever, because it just kind of takes everything from, having your arm out like this, if you're on a grand, or kind of like up here with an upright, and just makes it just right here, just right in this sweet spot of like, you're not really engaging a lot in your shoulder. It's more in your bicep and your forearm. So that's
Yeah,
really
I've only
anything in
heard
addition to that.
I've only heard great things about this. I'm sharing it on my screen. I've only heard great things about this thing. Have you ever used one?
I've never used one, but I know countless people that use it.
Look at that thing. Yeah, that's wild.
Well, and it serves two purposes, I've heard. One, that it helps with the shoulder and the ergonomics of tuning, but it also creates that turn point right in line with the pin, so that you know that you're actually turning the pin and not bending it as much. So
Yeah. I met Dan at a thing, and his teaching was brilliant. This seems to be good. If I was really struggling with shoulder pain, I would buy one of these. My shoulder pain is from fighting, not from tuning. So
yeah.
I'm fighting in Krav Maga only, but I keep injuring myself. But I do think that this would be cool. I think I almost bought one once, but
Yeah, they're kind of pricey, but I mean,
I just wasn't sure I was gonna like it. And then the other one I have is the what is that called?
the impact lever.
The impact lever.
Yeah.
That does. I hate those for me. I mean, I've tried them and I have one, and I have a student actually that it's not that one. It's what's that one? What's the go to the Rayburn?
Yeah, the Rayburn.
So
I
this is
actually
the
did
one that
buy
I
one.
have. You do?
I did buy one, and I still there's a learning curve to it, and it feels weird.
Yeah. This is the
But
one this is like the one I have.
mhm,
It's an
yeah.
older version of this one and more, but these really, if you had a rotator injury and if you really were struggling on uprights and spinets, these things are pretty brilliant. I hate them, but I do have one and I'll take it out when I'm like up against a wall on an upright. If I get up against the wall, it's because you can't really do this. So I'll just get and I'll just do that,
Mhm.
or if you're just feeling sore, or if you're tuning a ton of pianos and you just want to break. But I find this slows me down and it's super awkward. I never liked it, but I did use it. And I think there's a student that I have, he only uses this.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it, but he does. He has an Instagram channel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
one of those things where it's um I guess the idea of it is not so much in the I guess I forget how they kind of phrase it, but it's not really so much as what you do to the hammer, but you're kind of just influencing it with that flick and the weight of the hammer at the top. So that little metal piece at the top is the weight. And that weight in conjunction with your influence of turning it actually turns the pin. So you're letting the hammer actually do the work for you.
supposedly my wrist hurts like crap every time I use one of these. But I've learned,
Yeah.
but I've learned what you're saying. If I do that, if I just kind of let it fall down. But when I first started, I was like kind of whipping it, kind of flicking it, trying to get it go. But
Yeah.
I mean, you know
Oh,
what it does? It definitely takes all the work out of your shoulder. So if you're having shoulder pain,
yeah, because you're supposed to just hold it out
just
and
go,
you
ding,
kind of
ding.
flick your wrist, and it does nothing with your shoulder. Has nothing to do with your shoulder. It's more of your wrist and forearm.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I like it, but I feel like to really tune a piano well, it definitely works. I think it can work. And so that, but that's not. I like it. So you'll just have to keep. I bought it and I was all excited and I was like, this is
Mhm.
gonna be great. And I started tuning with like this thing's terrible. Like I can't tune with this.
Yeah.
And but then like I said, I've kept it in my box in case I just um, for certain situations I found it really helpful. And
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing to have. I think buying tools and buying a bunch of stuff, I know we're probably getting a little off topic, but I think just buying tools and other things to do or get is a good avenue of travel to go if you're a piano technician, because you never know when you might need it.
yeah, I like buying tools. So I would always like buy random stuff, but so that this is you won't know. You may, like I said, this one guy bought it, uses it all the time. That's all he tunes. He tunes really fast with it, and he's never going to have shoulder problems with that. So let's see. I think that's it. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, man. Thanks for hanging out, Joe. I'm glad you got a lot of good advice, and thanks for doing mentoring inside Apex. If you're
Yeah.
watching this on YouTube and you want to join, we are doing fall enrollment special. Man, it's good deal. So you better get on there. I don't know who's watching. Nobody's watching right now, really, but we'll hang out again in a week or so, week and a half, and hopefully Kyle was like, man, I can't come, but like I said, this was very last minute.
Yeah, it
Um,
seemed like Kyle really wanted to be a part of it, but
but
yeah,
I think
till
he
next time.
said like we'll do it like I think he said like on a night evening. I forget. I got the comments here.
Yeah. I'll probably in a couple weeks I'll be out of town, but I can still make it work. I'm just visiting family for a wedding, but yeah,
Oh,
should
okay.
be able to attend. I should be able to make the hangout.
The week of the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th.
Yeah, yeah, I can do that.
Cool. All right, Joe. Thanks, man.